activated by temperance spirits, creating a space for change.
Yo, yo, yo. What is up? What is up? What is up? Wait, you're probably wondering, hold on a second. This isn't Edmonton. This is Game Over Vancouver. And you know what? You'd be right. And you're looking at your boy, Avry Lewis McDougall, here on Game Over Vancouver as the emergency backup host because everybody else in Vancouver is away and can't do the show. So your boy got tapped to take over and do the show tonight. Welcome. Hope you're having fun. Vancouver with a big 2-0 win over the Dallas Stars. Thatcher Demko got a wonderful shutout. And I'm joined by one of the funnier people on Canucks Twitter. He's a member.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And I mean that. He's a member of the Pucks on Net podcast. It is Arash Memarzadeh. Arash, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing, buddy? Welcome to Game Over Vancouver. Again, you've been here before. You were on last year with Sam.
Yeah, I've been here with a few of the crew, and I always love my time here because it's I think every time I've come, it's like relatively mid despair, and this is the first time that I've come where I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna have to temper expectations here just a little bit, but we can go for pizza, we can have cake. I just don't know if we should book the entire holiday, but like, listen, vibes are good here, and we should be having fun and enjoying ourselves. Congratulations, Canucks Nation. We might be good again.
No, you guys might be good. You guys got your 8th win of the season, a strong performance in which I mentioned a 2-0 win after the Dallas Stars dummy the Edmonton Oilers. They come on the road to continue their road trip. They get shut down. Thatcher Demko had a wonderful performance in net tonight. And watching the Vancouver Canucks, before we get too deep into things, just watching this team on the power play, Arash,
yep.
I'm seeing a team that looks like they know what they're doing on the man advantage. They're getting shots on net, left, right, and center from everybody on this board. This is a power play that is looking pretty scary so far.
Yeah, so it's always funny every time something we talk about like getting shots on net. I always have to stop myself from saying getting pucks on net and doing a obligatory ad read for the show. Yeah, but no. So the thing I would really punctuate with what the current state of Canucks hockey is, especially when you're looking at the power play. You are looking at a power play that all it had to do was just incorporate movement within their power play. So it wasn't just you have JT Miller on one wall, Elias Pettersson there, and Bo Horvat on the bumper, or now Brock Besser in the bumper, or Kuzmenko as they fluctuate. Now you're seeing set patterns and them kind of reading off each other, and now Quinn Hughes has a shot. Quinn Hughes has developed a point shot and shot volumes. Brock Besser has been incorporated in being kind of both net front, but also getting a bit of his shot back in terms of, just from the hash mark areas, like being that kind of danger there. And I don't know how to explain it, Avery. It's like they just have this belief. Like, I don't know what happened in the room. I don't know what happened during the summer. I don't know if it exactly is Rick Tocchet coming and being like, hey, kids and cool kittens and kitties, this is called accountability, and we're going to be accountable with each other. So that means when you make a mistake, you just got to be better about it the next time. So I'm trying to temper as much expectation as I have, because I've talked about how it is really odd to kind of look at this Canucks team at this moment and not just be waiting for the bottom to fall out. And I don't know if I'll throw it back to you. When you're watching this Canucks team, are you seeing them? I'm sure, covering the Oilers and everything, you've also seen this team and their attempts to play professional hockey the last few years. Did you see tonight them, like, there are parts where they bent, but they didn't completely break as years previous.
No, I agree with that. And you saw Dallas get their chances in high danger slots. You saw them get their chances on Demko, and this team didn't break, because in years past we've seen the struggles of this Vancouver Canucks team with Patrick Alvin as GM. We saw the horrors of the Jim Benning era, and in years past this would have been a tire fire. But no, you're seeing a Canucks team that's starting to improve defensively, a team that cleans up their mistakes, and a team that really should be considered a possible. I don't think I can say contender yet, but they look like a team.
Oh, I don't say. Just say it. Just we'll clip it and we'll just say it. It's November. It's like how many months really are left? We're pretty much there.
Oh, right. But this is a team. The more I watch Vancouver, I thought last year was going to be their playoff year. I was very wrong in that. I was so wrong about that. But
oh yeah,
this year
we were all wrong. Don't worry, you're not the only one. We were all wrong. No, it's totally fine.
No, this year, seeing this team now, 8-2-1, and still getting better. I mean, we saw the first goal, the Brock Besser goal, which that was a great play by JT Miller, breaking that play up, getting that pass to Besser. I'm seeing a team that will, and I'm going to say it now here on Game Over Vancouver, this is a team that I think will be a playoff team, either via the wild card or the number 3 seed in the Pacific, I think.
You have to understand, I'm coming from a place of tremendous PTSD when it comes to this team. So listen, you can't blame us. So for the last decade, there's really only there's 3 highlights I can think of. One is the Miller Verbata year where they made the playoffs and then they got killed in 6 games because Matt Stajan had bloodlust in his eyes as a Calgary Flame. 2, the bubble year where I don't think people really understand. Right before COVID, or I believe, right before COVID hit, the Canucks were going into March and flailing. They were completely flailing, and if it wasn't for the NHL coming and saying, "Yeah, we're going to expand playoff teams by like 2 or 3 or 4, and then we're going to have the play-in rounds," the Canucks don't make the playoffs just strictly based off point percentage. And then the last thing was Bruce. There it is, and where we were all depressed, drunk, and we all came up with a funny chant for a coach that we all bound around. And that's really the last 10 years. That's really the happiness that we've had. So when I'm coming, I'll agree with you. I think this team, I'm looking at Calgary. I'm looking at Edmonton, especially Calgary. I know Edmonton's probably, they'll wake up and they'll figure it out, and Connor McDavid or whatever. But I've also seen Jonathan Huberdeau attempt to play hockey this year, and I'm like, that ain't it. You're rich, but that ain't it, pal. So yeah, of course, I'm my foot's on the wagon. I think I've bought a ticket. It's not an express ticket. It's not a first class ticket, but I'm riding coach, and I think it's partly refundable. So I got some leeway there. But yeah, when you're looking at the Canucks and how they're playing, you're looking at like the biggest thing is active sticks, puck pressure, supporting the F1, like just supporting players on the forecheck. And really they're winning board battles down low. You look at players like Sam Lafferty, Dakota Joshua's kind of turned it up a bit, but you look at this third line with Niels Höglander, Hugh Suter, and Connor Garland. That's been effective. That we saw Suter again have a second goal of the year this year. So yeah, hopefully, they can keep the ball rolling. They're not going to win every game. They're not going to keep up this pace unless Demko completely stands on his head again in December. But they've created a great situation and position for themselves starting out. And they can hit a couple bumps and bruises, as every team does, but this is the start they've needed forever, and I'm glad they finally have it.
No, of course, and the big thing, we've seen Vancouver now, Arash, come in and beat teams in their division and in their conference. They've gotten wins against Edmonton twice. We saw the 8-1 pummeling. They went back to Edmonton, won in Edmonton, and now they beat a very good Dallas Stars team. And that's the thing, if you want to be a playoff team that can surprise somebody, win a few games, win a playoff round, you got to find a way to beat teams in your conference. And so far, Vancouver's done it. They've done quite a bit here.
Yeah, and you're looking at these teams. So when they were starting off, especially against their loss against Philadelphia, we were seeing them win and lose games in such a broad perspective. So they win 8-1, they lose, or they win 4-3 against Edmonton, win 8-1 against Edmonton. Then they lose, I believe, against Philly and Tampa. And you're seeing kind of, they're losing to teams they should beat. They're beating teams they shouldn't beat. They are really beating teams they shouldn't beat. And then pretty much after the Philly game, we started seeing the course correction. And I think it comes to tonight. They played Dallas straight up. This is two teams that were 7-2-1. Both have amazing goaltending. Both have franchise-defining defensemen. I would give a nod to Vancouver's forward depth, and then a bigger nod to Dallas's defensive core. But they played them straight up, and they won. And this wasn't. I can't come here and say that Dallas played really badly, and that's why Vancouver was able to take advantage. These two teams played each other straight up. I bet if they were in a 7-game series, they would go to 7 games. But that was the barometer. That was the limit that they needed to kind of address and say, are we for real? Is this a giant fluke? Is it just the hockey gods giving us something after a decade of misery? But no, I think could they be for real, Avery? Like I don't know. I feel like this person. I feel like what was it, Shawshank Redemption? When he's finally released out of prison, and he's like, I don't know. Like, I'm seeing cars everywhere. I don't know. When I was here, I only saw one car, and now everyone has a car, and now I don't know what a win is. Are wins good? Are we supposed to win every game? It's a weird trip. Weird, but I'm glad to be on it.
I can imagine. I also want to point out that right now, Arash, it is a Saturday night, and there's 103 people watching us live right now on a Saturday night.
Yo, what up, Canada, on a Saturday night in November? What's up?
I want to applaud those people who said, you know what? I'm not gonna go to a bar. I'm not gonna go out. No, I'm gonna stay home and watch Game Over Vancouver on the SDPN platform.
Do you guys listen, as a person who's spent majority of their 20s going out on Saturday nights and just being that arty party after party kid, you guys made a great decision. You're saving money.
True.
You're talking to two beauties, speaking about the sport we love. And if a majority of you are from Vancouver, guys, just embrace it. Let it wash over you. Just soak it in. I can't promise you what's going to happen in a couple days, but I can promise you right now they're 8-2 or what? They're 8-2-1.
8-2-1.
And they got some room to lose, and we'd still be happy. They could be 8-5-1, and we'd be like, oh yeah, no, they're pretty good. They got some padding, so enjoy it. And we'll see how ferocious Edmonton's going to be in the next month coming back.
No, exactly. Don't worry, y'all. We'll get to them in a second. But I do want to mention too.
Oh yeah, we're getting to Edmonton. Don't worry. I have waited for so long, not to dunk on Edmonton, but I just want to it's like you're sitting down with the person who scored 5 points against you. My Botchford night,
yes,
was an amazing experience, not only because I got to meet so many people in Vancouver media, but it was also this hilarious thing where I can tell my kids that I went to a hockey game in an arena where no fans were allowed, but also Connor McDavid single-handedly destroyed the Canucks in a bubble game, and the highlight for the Canucks was Jack Rathbone stopped a 2-on-1. And I was like, sick. So you can say this is my prolonged payback to the Edmonton Oilers coming up.
I gotta say, you know what? This was literally before I was credentialed to cover the Oilers, but I watched a lot of those games at home. We were starting up Zone Time on Yahoo, and I gotta say, that year, I remember how people were saying, oh, it's gonna be fun, all Canadian division. By week 2 of that season, I was so sick of the same teams over and over again.
I was so done. I was like, It's like you think like, oh man, you know, it'd be great if they only put Coffee Crisp and Kit Kat in one of those Halloween boxes, and then you realize that sometimes you need an Arrow and a Smartie.
Right?
Sometimes you need the Minnesota Wild and the Anaheim Ducks in there just to feel a little better. You know, like you just don't.
Like I was dying to see a game against the Tampa Bay Lightning just to give you something different. Because
Yeah.
as funny as it was to see the Oilers beat Ottawa 15-1 every game, like it was redundant. It was like enough. We know Ottawa sucks this year. Enough. I don't need to see another 7-point night for McDavid against Ottawa's 8-string goaltender.
Yeah, it was the Hamburglar. It was the Hamburglar burglar getting beaten to death by the Homer Hamburglar. In that, it's like stop, he's already dead. I mean, yeah, that the Canadian division. I mean, as a Canucks fan, was just like, I'll never forget Braden Holtby staring down JT Miller against the Toronto Maple Leafs for not back checking, and I'm like, you know, maybe this is a problem. Maybe this should not happen against the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I'm glad they figured it out. I'm glad they kind of have figured it.
What is the sentiment now like with JT Miller? Because it seems like every other, like over his tenure with the Canucks, it seems like for the most part, one day Canucks fans hate him, next day Canucks fans love him, and tonight we saw his play set up the first goal of the game for Besser, and again it was back to Canucks fans love JT Miller. So how has sentiment been this year with JT Miller on this roster, Arash?
I think the thing with JT Miller that's always frustrated people is that if you're going to have, you know, your heart on your sleeve and you're going to be extremely fiery and you're going to expect more out of people and then all that, it's twofold. One was you can't show your frustration out on the ice. You can't do that, especially when, you know, JT Miller of the yesteryears would, you know, give a turnover or something bad would happen. And then instead of back checking, he'd do, you know, a theater kid slouch just to make sure everyone saw that he's disappointed, and then he'd go back check. And that kind of added on top of itself. And the correlating part to that was if you're going to have that high expectation, you have to win. You can't just come and have a pissy attitude all the time. Sorry, Leon. You can't have that attitude all the time when you know, you're holding such a high expectation. Now it's become a detriment to your overall game. What's happened, I think, is that JT Miller has found someone in Rick Tocchet that was him. Like Rick Tocchet was in parcel and part sort of like a JT Miller prototype. Now I'll say Rick Tocchet of his time, but it was a different time. It was a different game.
Yes, it was.
In terms of being a gritty forward. But like the perfect example was the benching in that it's against was it Nashville? Yeah, so it's against Nashville. He has 3 minor penalties. He's benched for the last 3 minutes of the second. And then he comes back in the third, starts with JT Miller. That is how you have to calibrate JT Miller. He's not going around doing stupid stuff because he's stupid. He's doing it because he wants to be engaged. He's trying to find where the line is. He's trying to, you know, express his frustration out on the ice through his play. But sometimes, depending on what the vibe is, it can go either way. In that game, he was going across the line where he was taking minor penalties and it was a detriment to his team. Goes to the locker room. He's benched for 3 minutes. Goes to the locker room. Rick Tocchet said it himself. They hashed it out. JT Miller apologized. He apologized. He needed that little bit of a timeout just to recalibrate. We all need it. Like there's a reason why psychiatrists tell you count to 10. And being Iranian, that is a fundamental thing because we're always at a 10. We need the 10 seconds to just bring ourselves down because we're so high energy and we're all there all the time. That he has this block, he has that break, and what happens? He comes back in the third, scores a goal. And of yesteryear, previous seasons, that doesn't happen with JT Miller. JT Miller had to calibrate himself, and sometimes that's probably not the best thing, especially when you're trying to find where middle is. Sometimes it's great if you have someone who can be your North Star to be like, hey, as every one of us need a great partner in life to come to us and say, hey, you might not see it, but you're a little ahead of yourself, or you're a little behind yourself, or you're to the left or right. And I think Rick Tocchet has just done an amazing job in understanding who JT Miller is and not necessarily babying him, but just getting someone that understands and knows how to handle things and knows how to temper the waters per se. And sorry to finish your question about fans. Yeah, just winning solves a lot. Winning solves a lot. And now they're 8-2-1. We haven't seen really a lot of Miller gas. He's been engaged. He's become this two-way force. Again, previous years 5-on-5, you completely write him off. He's a power play machine. That's, oh my God, this contract's awful. Well, they're getting $8 million worth of value out of him now, and he's only 30. So I mean, sorry to say he's only 30, but yeah, and just within the scope of that deal, like, hey, they're getting their money's worth now, and fans are happy.
Yeah, no, that's a great way of putting it. Winning solves a lot, and if this team keeps on winning, he'll be mayor by June. So
can JT Miller solve the housing crisis in Vancouver? I think he can. I think he can. I think if he can solve the Vancouver Canucks like he has, someone can give us affordable housing, so that maybe one day we can, I don't know, buy some grapes as a treat. That would be nice.
I mean, just seeing how Vancouverites are, I think he might. I mean, he might be Ken. He might be Ken Sim. Doesn't make him relate him. So
I mean, I don't want to get political, but if they told me tomorrow that Ken Sim, the Vancouver's Wish.com Elon, was replaced by JT Miller, I'd be like, you know what? I love this man's ideas. I don't know what his platform is, but I'd vote for him.
Oh my goodness. And Vancouver's other son, Elias Pettersson, he scores tonight to make it 2-0. And once again, Elias Pettersson has stepped up, and once again, he's been that shining light for the Canucks. What are your thoughts on his play scores against tonight for Vancouver?
Okay, you're throwing it my way. You're also my West Coast partner here.
Sure.
Like I hope you watched the game too. I hope you weren't just
absolutely.
I hope you just weren't watching Moneyball again, like every man does on a Saturday night when we're bored. We just put on Moneyball and we're like, love you, Billy Bean. Yeah, you changed the game. How are you perceiving, from a person outside of Vancouver, how are you perceiving Elias Pettersson?
He's a guy I think Vancouver has to find a way to lock up long. Like, you cannot let him leave. I know Twitter loves to make those jokes. Twitter loves to make the jokes about, Pettersson's going to go somewhere else. It's not going to work out. This is a guy who has 20 points, 11 games. Vancouver has to find a way to keep him in that franchise long-term somehow. You have to.
If this year ends with a Trevor Zegras for Elias Pettersson swap, I swear to God, no, it's just like, I get it. Like, I understand Elias Pettersson's perspective at the start of the year, because just total flash for everyone. Players have the autonomy to say, thank you for drafting me. Thank you for paying me up to now. Mm-hmm. I have one career and one life, and I don't want to spend it like I have, let's say, with the Canucks, doing whatever the heck it is they've been doing for the past, 5, 6, 7, whatever years since. Well, Elias Pettersson's been here 5 years. Let's just say 5. Yeah. He has the autonomy to say that, and no one in Vancouver, if this team was 2-7-1 instead of 7-2-1 coming into tonight, no one can argue if Elias Pettersson came and said, "Listen, guys, like, I'm scoring goals, I'm scoring all this stuff. System stuff is not happening. Something is rotten in Denmark. I don't know. The Rogers Arena is haunted. Like, you need a ghost whisper. I don't know." And then he wants to move on. Like, yeah, you can be upset, but you can understand. They're 8-2-1 now, primarily based on the facts of Elias Pettersson has maintained or exceeded how he's played last year. Quinn Hughes has become the captain that this market needs, in terms of he's Marcus Naslund with an ability to speak. And I say this really politely in terms of Marcus Naslund, but Quinn Hughes, when Quinn needs to say something to the media, to the rest of the players, he'll say it. He might not be boisterous, he might not be super loud. We've heard this. A great perspective was, when he in September was given the captaincy, and he brings up how his great grandfather was a firefighter in New York, and they brought it up during 9/11, and he just brought it up because he's like, this is something that needs to be said, and he did. And now what's happening now is that he's putting everyone in the East Coast on notice. Every person that's already asleep right now, not watching Quinn Hughes, he's saying, I'm more than just a Keith Yandel. I'm more than just a dude you saw in the Canadian division when I was younger, and didn't really have too much help. He's put the entire league on notice, and I think he's coming by New Year. We're really going to be pushing the Quinn Hughes Norris votes there, and then Thatcher Demko is not only healthy, but I would also give a credit to Casey DeSmith in that they have a tandem they can rely on. I don't think they're here if Spencer Martin is the backup. I don't think they're at 8-2-1. And you look at the additions of Carson Soucy, Ian Cole, like these band-aids are working. Ian Cole, wow. Like this team, how amazing this team would be if they had Philip Hronek, Quinn Hughes, and then 4 Ian Coles. Just 4 Ian Coles. Just everyone else, just let Philip Hronek and Quinn Hughes do their thing, and then just have 4 Ian Coles who make low event, low risk plays until the top pairing can come back out. And so, that at least that's the viewpoint of like what's cooking for the Canucks. That's what I can see. And congrats to the Canucks fans at Rogers Arena tonight. I just want to give them a shout out. Like, they made the wave look cool. Like I was watching. I'm a giant pessimist, so anytime I'm in the arena, I see the wave, I'm just like, this. Oh man, they're trying to get me out of my seat. No way. I'm not doing this for Derek Pouliot. Get out of here. Great on the crowd. Great on Canucks fans for having a really great time at Rogers Arena tonight and rocking the barn. Well done.
No, of course. You mentioned Quinn Hughes. I know there was the talk about, I think when the season began, people were suggesting, Quinn Hughes, he's too young to be the captain. He's not ready yet.
Yeah.
This and the third. I think he's probably the most confident guy on this roster. He's more ready than ever to be a captain. And I watch him. Yeah. I watch Quinn in Blue Line. That is a very confident D-man. That is a guy who absolutely should be near the top of the Norris Trophy voting. Even watching Game 1 against Edmonton, like this is a guy, again, 23 years old, and you swear he's been in the league for 15 years with how he plays in that back end, Arash.
Yeah, it's insane. Like he made one mistake tonight. I believe it was on the power play, and it was a cross-ice pass that got picked off. I mean, it was during a power play, and so it wasn't too high danger. It was just kind of like a dump chase back, but that happened, and it was so jarring that I told my dad. I come and I watch hockey games with my dad just as a force of habit, and then I just turned to him. I'm like, that is like the first time I've seen Quinn making up like a slight and it was just, it really kind of dawned on me. I'm like, yeah, he doesn't make mistakes. He seemingly plays high event hockey, but he doesn't do it in a way that, let's say, Tyler Myers does it, where it's like, okay, he's going. God help us, he's going. It's Quinn is like in control. He's cool as a cucumber. Like he just has such a command and of the game and understanding the flow and tempo of how things are going. And I think we do argue about how, who should have been the captain, if it's JT Miller, if it's Elias Pettersson. They made the great choice in Quinn Hughes. It is very clear that it should be Quinn. It's someone who's on the ice, nearly half the game, every game. And not only is he proving it with his play, but again, it's just like when there comes a time when you need someone to speak up, you don't need the guy that's constantly speaking up about every little thing. You need the guy who is playing 30 minutes. He's dead tired. He's not being rah-rah, but if he needs to say something, he'll stand up and be like, hey guys, WTF. And then everyone listens. And at 23 years old, it is ridiculous. Isn't it a little ridiculous? Maybe this is just showing how awful Vancouver Canucks draft history is, that like a 23, he's 23 and he's like one season away from holding every single conceivable Canucks defenseman record.
That
Crazy.
that is very crazy, and considering again being someone who is from Edmonton, saw the records that were held here, seeing that he's 23 years old and near the top already, that that blows my mind. But it also goes to show on the flip side how good he is and how ready he is to be an elite defenseman in this league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I also have it in the back of my mind, he has 3 years left after this. So we'll see how things go. But I'll just say that it's about time they started to win. It's about time they started to figure out what was exactly wrong and what they needed to lock into and believe. Because there comes a time when this season in particular, like you're looking at Demko after this 2 years. Yeah, Hughes with 3. Elias Pettersson is an RFA. There would be a lot of hard questions to answer if they didn't start off at least 500. Like, listen, if they came out and were at 500, I think a lot of us would take that and we'd be like, okay, well, at least they didn't lose their first 6 straight games, out on the road. Like, okay. So it's I don't know how to explain it. I think, Avery, the way I can describe it is we were all expecting to have the end is nigh discussion by now. And I think I not because of the Vancouver Canucks fans and their market being pessimists. I think we do it as a protective measure. I think when that happens after what we've been through in the last 10 years, it sucks to go through this kind of pain. And as Edmonton Oilers fans can even attest, like, hey, you can get as many first overall picks as you want, but like if something's rotten in the water, something's rotten in the water. And it, sometimes, it does take Connor McDavid to come to really reset everything. But I think you're seeing a Canucks fan base that is more active than ever. They're joyous. They're fun. Like you're seeing the memes. You're seeing people like our top meme poster, I think probably besides me and Lachlan Irvin, is Mr. Booth, the iconic Mr. Booth. Booth, he came back.
He did.
He came back, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy's my hero, and I'm pretty sure they're younger than me. Like, sick, love that. So people are having fun, and it's really, I don't know, it's just nice not to have the same doom and gloom discussion we've had for the last decade. So it's nice to be able to jump on the show with you and like literally not talk about okay, so what can we get for Tyler Myers at the deadline? Because that's our only asset. Okay.
Although I will say this much though, when the Canucks have struggled and the Canucks have had their downtimes, that is when Canucks Twitter is by far the funniest. Oh. This is a market that knows, there's a few markets that know how to laugh at themselves very well, and Canucks Twitter is at the top in terms of self-deprecation.
Oh, yeah. So no one knows how much we suck more than us. Like, you want to tell us we suck? No, there's no way that you know how much we suck more than us. And we I don't know, it's Vancouver's this weird thing where it's like, we're not Toronto. We don't have the Stanley Cup wins that Edmonton has, even the single one that Calgary has. We want to be something. And we're, throughout our history beyond even 2011, where the big argument with 2011 is, why did Edmonton get to be Canada's team in 06, but in 2011 we couldn't be Canada's team? Whatever that is. We have this weird energy about us where, I don't know, it's like us against the world, but we really want the world to like us. And maybe because of that, I don't know, there's this kind of reflective thing, but I won't lie, when it's bad, it's also partly really funny. But you do like, we watch hockey to get out of come to the other side of the rainbow. Like, there has to be a method to the madness. You can't just watch a team unless I don't watch football, but I assume a really good part, like a parallel, is like the Cleveland Browns, maybe, where it's like, maybe you just exist to be miserable. And after a while, that's kind of how Canucks fans probably felt. It's like, man, we just exist. We're not here to make the playoffs or really even win a top overall pick. We're just here to make sure that the league has 32 teams. And it's just nice to win again.
You know, I would not compare you to the Cleveland Browns because you made it to a cup final in my lifetime. The Browns have not played for a title in the NFL since the mid '60s, so you're better than them.
I will say the reason I bring up the Cleveland Browns, besides I think Satyar Shah in Vancouver, I listen to a lot of Vancouver radio. One of my friends, Sat, is a huge Cleveland Browns fan. One of my favorite films. This is coming from a person who's a 4-year film major, and I say this in all seriousness. One of my favorite absurd films of all time is Draft Day with Kevin Costner, because it is a movie that bends space and time. It exists in its own rule. It's so ridiculous and stupid, but they all have so much. They look like they're having so much fun making it. He trades, I think, 3 years of first round picks to get a first overall pick, and he ends up picking a dude who would have been available at his like 6th overall pick. And I'm like, if anyone did that in real life, they not only would be fired, but the team, I think, would be taken over by the league itself. And just been like, you know, but no, it's Hollywood. It's amazing. And they buy into it. And it's hilarious. So, let's hope the San Jose Sharks don't have to have a movie made out of them where they have to get into wacky shenanigans to win.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. If y'all, this is the one thing I cannot imagine if we at SDPN right now had a game over San Jose show.
Hey, everyone at the SAP Center, how does it feel? Giving a back-to-back 10-goal game since first time, I believe, since 1965, the Boston Bruins did it. You're in a special club.
Like, that is, I gotta admit, I gotta give credit to Mike Greer. That is elite level tanking.
Love it.
That is masterclass tanking down in the Bay Area right now.
Oh, Macklin Celebrini jerseys really just flying off. They were selling those jerseys at the SAP Center. But I'm just imagining, like, Avery, imagine being in that arena as a person who paid for a ticket. Like, let's say, I don't know, you had back-to-back nights where, like, you were going to games.
Yes.
At the SAP Center. Like, there's the great thing that, not the great thing, but there's the photo that trended of the adorable kid with the sign that says, "My first Sharks game."
Yep. And
it was like Canucks 8, Sharks 0. And then Jeff Patterson had a great tweet where it's like, I really hope they didn't invite that kid back for this game. To be like, come on, there's no way we can give up 10 again, can we?
Yo, that would have been jokes to bring that kid back to see your favorite team give up 20 goals in 2 games.
I can't even comprehend saying that. You gave up 20 goals in 2 games. That's as much as a Jacques Lemaire 2006 team gave up in an entire year. Like, I can't believe we live in an era where we can actually, like, we live in a day and age where you and I can say that a team gave up 20 goals in 2 games. That's so good. It
seems impossible, but the Sharks found a way to do it. So well done. You found a way to unlock a next level of tankage. That's impressive.
Dude, good. Like, listen, I joked that Jumbo's Joe Thornton, like, he could come back from retirement and lead the team in scoring probably at this point. But listen, Mike Greer, like, you got out of the Carlson deal. You don't really care that the husk of Marc-Edouard Vlasic is there. They're rebuilding, man, and they're just gonna go for it, and it's fine. I personally would love the San Jose Sharks to be a relevant team because I think the California teams are always interesting just with being a West Coast kid. But yeah, Macklin Celebrini. If they don't win the draft lottery, I'm gonna. Oh man, that's gonna be brutal.
That will. And now, of course, Vancouver. After this game, they're going forward to play Edmonton on Monday night. We've seen in Vancouver, they've already beaten the Oilers twice before. They have a chance to go 3-0 in the season against Edmonton. It's something that we've not seen very much in the past couple of years here. And tonight we saw Edmonton lose 5-2 against Nashville. And just what are your impressions going to that game now? Because I'm on that game with Kaya for Game Over Head to Head. So that game might be me getting trolled the entire evening if Edmonton loses again. But just what are your impressions? Because we've seen the Vancouver Canucks team play Edmonton very well and find a way to have an answer for Jay Woodcroft's team as the season's gone on.
I'll give you a very short thing. This is our Super Bowl, in where I'm gonna now, by saying that, I'm gonna throw it back to you. Mm-hmm. Avery, like what happens? What happens if they lose to Vancouver? Like, is it just like the easy thing is, okay, Jay Woodcroft, thank you, but something isn't working, and we need to try something different, and we're whatever, and we need to move on. To Vancouver fans, part of them is like, oh, could we be, out of the 99, hits to the rock, can we be the 100th that breaks the dam? So in your perspective, like, I think Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl will go crazy, and I'm hedging my bets because I'm 8-2-1. I can hedge. I can say we might lose a game, and I'm not going to feel bad. But as someone who covers the Edmonton Oilers, like, what happens? What happens right now? Like, what road is it going to go down if, let's say, they lose against the Canucks?
Ooh, wow. Unfortunately, you're seeing a lot of comments online of this should be it for Jay Woodcroft, but I'm in the camp of what does that solve? What does letting go of Jay Woodcroft solve? It's much deeper right now than Jay Woodcroft. Unfortunately, his team has struggled to get timely saves from Jack Campbell. We saw today again, Campbell had a hard time, and his team right now struggles to defend the rush. And if Rick Tocchet can exploit that on Monday night, it will not be an easy game for the Edmonton Oilers, because we've seen again this Canucks team have weapons like a JT Miller, a Brock Besser. Vancouver, that forward core is one that has impressed me so far. Brock Besser has shown that, hey, he might be a legit candidate to be in Rocket Richard race, which I think is a really cool storyline considering how the past year has gone for him. I think Brock Besser being in that race for Rocket Richard would be a really cool story.
I think he'll take 30 goals. I love Brock, and as much as I'd love to say that he's a Rocket Richard nominee, man, I think if you're talking to him, he's like, if I can just hit 30, that'll be my Rocket Richard. But yeah, it's why I ask is like, yeah, you do make a really great point. Is like, what does it solve? What I'm seeing with the Edmonton Oilers from watching that matinee game is, I'm not seeing the rush chances. I'm not seeing the 2-on-1s. I'm seeing, again, Jack Campbell, like the Ryan O'Reilly hat-trick goal. I'm like, why are you pretending to be Kirk McLean? Like, why are you stacking your pads and flailing around? Like, just hold position in your net. I don't, for the life of me, I'll ask you this. How on earth is Vincent Desharnais still on this Edmonton Oilers?
You know what? I can't get too upset with Vincent Desharnais. His game, like, there were times last year, yes, in the postseason against LA and against Vegas, where he did look lost. He did look like a rookie defender where the lights were too bright for him at the NHL level. But he's calmed down a bit. I like his play against Calgary in the Heritage Classic. I thought his play wasn't that bad, so he is getting better. But as a collective, this is still a team that right now is broke. I think they're almost 20 points back of Vegas already for the division lead. That's not a good sign. I know.
No.
It's game over Vancouver. I won't Oilers it up too much.
No. You don't understand. You don't understand. This is the aperitif. This is the thing after the main course. It's when we get to talk about the flightlessness of the Edmonton Oilers. For Canucks fans, this is basically the Danish and the coffee after the 7-course meal. We're like, oh, how is it? How are people in the other Rogers Arena doing?
Although it is very funny how we have how many stadiums in Canada, and 85% of them have Rogers slapped on them. I think that is very funny. But,
oh God! Break up the monopoly, people. Maybe one day. Who knows?
But it is so odd because again, like this is, I think for so many fans in this market, they thought we were past the Edmonton Oilers struggling beyond McDavid and beyond Draisaitl, and we saw that Evander Kane played well against Nashville. Sam Gagner, ex-Canuck, Sam Gagner has played well in his 2 games after being called up from Bakersfield and signing an NHL deal. But as cool as it is to see Sam Gagner go to the net and be aggressive, a team with McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, Kane shouldn't have to rely on Sam Gagner doing that to jumpstart their team. They shouldn't have to.
Yeah, they shouldn't have to. And we were talking about it before the show. It's that, like, is there just a regular season fatigue? Like, is this one of those years where it's like, listen, Leon and Connor, they've been doing this for a while. They've been playing 25 minutes a night and triple, quadruple shifts, and they're like, God, if we can just sneak into wild card 2, like, I'll have more energy for the postseason kind of deal. Like, I'm really curious. Maybe it's in a room thing. They're just, I don't know if it's a systems thing. It's really crazy for me to watch. I think we were looking at, I was just jotting down or looking at some analytics on my computer where, like, they're first in the NHL on 5v5 like goals expected and all these things. Like, they're like, they should be scoring more. They're just not getting saves. I'm sure it'll regulate itself and they'll find themselves back regressing to the mean and they'll be fine. But for right now, I have more faith in Edmonton coming back from a slow start than I do if the Canucks had, gotten off to a slower start and then they had to kind of climb their mountain back. But I'm really curious what'll happen after Canucks and Oilers. I don't know. Like, you're right. What does firing Jay Woodcroft really solve? Like, is this a crisis of faith? Like, do they need, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a really funny Edmonton Oilers person to bring back. Do they need to, like, bring back Fernando Pisani again after they did it during the Heritage Classic? They're like, yeah, bring him back again. He scored 14 goals in the playoffs. It's fine. We need even more nostalgia. Just cram nostalgia. Well, something will work.
If he wasn't a scout for the Canadiens, that might have been a real suggestion. But
I forget everyone gets jobs after they retire. I forgot about that.
Yes, they do. And before we wrap things up, Arash, I do want to just get your thoughts again. Of course, it's Edmonton up next, but what are your impressions on the schedule going forward now because now it's Vancouver, Edmonton, and then they're playing Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal.
They're going off that way, East Coast swing.
Yes, East Coast swing. And again, right now, there is room for his Canucks team to lose. But I look at the schedule right now for Vancouver, and I think right now, this East Coast swing, there are winnable games. There are winnable games right now against Toronto and against Montreal, in which Vancouver, they're setting themselves up right now to be in really good shape in the division right now. I really feel here.
Yeah, I'm gonna put my optimist hat on and just say, like, yeah, Toronto lost, what was it, 6-4 against Buffalo on a late Alex Tuck goal and an empty netter there. Montreal has dealt with some injury issues, even though, listen, if you're a betting person and you're of age to bet and you're not a member of the National Hockey League Players Association, you place this bet on Tanner Pearson goals over against the Vancouver Canucks. It's happening. Guaranteed money, free money. Bet your mortgage. No, don't do that. Please don't put that on my hands. But yeah, that swing, like, they'll play Montreal, Ottawa, the Travis Hamonic revenge game. They have a path to kind of pad their stats, but at the same time, this is a Vancouver Canucks team. I don't think they've completely, they have some room to kind of stumble like every team does. It's especially on a road trip, who knows, travel and everything, how it affects everyone. But I mean, they do have a path to, go 3-1 on the trip. Like, I don't even want. I brought this up on Pucks on Net with my podcast co-host Ryan, where I said the funny discussion that's going to be in Vancouver, and I can't believe we're here already. Was like, we're going to get to American Thanksgiving into December, and we're going to be like, okay, if we top 10 protect the first pick, we should be okay our first round pick. We should be okay trading it for like another Filip Hronek, right? Like, we should be okay. It's so funny how quickly times change, where before we traded one of the auxiliary firsts from a Bo Horvat trade, and we had people saying this was the greatest, this was the greatest crime since the Kennedy assassination. How dare they trade one of their first round picks, to now being like, yeah, we screw them kids. We don't need no prospects. We have Akito Hirose. He's not even playing here. It's fine. Just go and get another Filip Hronek and let's ride the bus.
All right. So before I wrap things up here, I'll I'll ask you one more question. We'll get to the press conference. So tonight, after the 2-0 win, it's easy to say the heroes, obvious heroes were Thatcher Demko getting a shutout tonight, JT Miller, Elias Pettersson. Who was your unsung hero tonight for Vancouver in this victory?
Oh, I mean, it's easy to probably, it's easy to look at someone like Ian Cole, who lays out a big hit on Matt, I believe it was Matt Duchene, and then he fights Mason Marchment. My unsung hero the last 2 games kind of has been the Canucks third line. I believe it's before it's shuffled too much. The main pairing is Pia Suter and Connor Garland with Niels Höglander in there. I'm glad they found the chemistry. I'm glad they've kind of, Pia Suter's found some offensive kind of flair to his game. But yeah, I think them getting auxiliary scoring and not having to worry about constantly, the stars being stars. Every team would love that. The Canucks finally perhaps have, a third line that can pitch in and kind of create that pressure release valve. So I'll give the unsung hero to the third line tonight.
No, that's great. You mentioned Pia Suter. He was a guy who I think, I remember, that was a name that Oilers fans wanted to bring into Edmonton before he lost me Vancouver. That was a name that people wanted here. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. He thrived very well in Vancouver. Scores tonight. That's a guy who I think, again, Canucks fans should be happy to see what he's brought over the past couple of years here to Vancouver. No, very happy to see Pia Suter playing well. So let's wrap things up here. Game over Vancouver. We'll do the press conference, so please fire away your love, your hate, your complaints, anything you want to get off your chest. Fire them towards Arash only.
Do it. I have emotional, as my girlfriend says, I have a great emotional capacity to listen. So just throw it my way. Let Avry just chill out and I don't know. Just
No, I'm joking. I'll take questions too. But again, over the past couple of games here for Vancouver, again, we've talked about all show long how the vibes have to be high with this team, thriving in the Pacific Division, coming off a 10-1 victory, and then beating the Dallas Stars at home, a very strong Dallas Stars team in the Western Conference. And again, I've watched hockey for a very long time. I've covered the NHL for quite some time, and seeing Canucks fans en masse, happy, jubilant over the past 5 to 6 years has been a rare sight.
Can you see the smile on my face? Like I understand that I have to. The biggest takeaway I had as I've kind of joined the low mid-level media, whatever you want to call me, is that as a person who, if you're a journalist, reporter, whomever, is that you have to be as impartial as possible. Man, I can't stop myself from being so happy, not only for Canucks fans, let's say, such as my father, such as myself, but also the rest of the province. I know what they've gone through. I know, man, like you come in every season wanting to believe and wanting to hope for better days, and nothing happens. And then they don't want to use the word rebuild, and they're trying to shove a new jersey in front of you to buy every day. And they're trying to just hawk all this stuff, and no one's back checking, and everyone's smashing sticks, and no one can make a save. And you're trading picks just to get to wildcard 2, and you don't even get to wildcard 2, and that's been happening forever. I'm just happy that we have now, and I hope we also have the future. But we just got to live in the present. The present is good.
Mm-hmm. I see a question here. It's actually an interesting comment here from Last Resort 318.
Nice. That's is that a Papa Roach reference? Sick.
Oh my god. When is it change from this team being a good team that should be happy with making the playoffs to this might be one of the better teams in the league that should make a bit of a run?
Can you repeat the first part of that?
Yeah. When does it change from this team being a good team that should be happy with making the playoffs to this being a team that should make a bit of a run?
Oh, when should you know? I mean, the big thing is American Thanksgiving. That's always the barometer of like, listen, when you're in around American Thanksgiving, that's a pretty good sign that you have a very good chance of making the playoffs. In terms of making a run, I think as soon as Jan 1 hits and you see where this team is at, then you can give that, if they have earned the right for you to believe in them, not only as a fan base but as an organization, it's fine to go on a 10-15 game heater, but this market is going to expect way more than that. They're going to expect you, like, it's great how they've started. They're going to expect you to give them a bit more of a sample size before we're able to just kind of hug and say, hey, the past is past, and Jim Benning, who, whatever, I don't even know that guy. To forget about all that stuff, because the one thing with emotional baggage is that your pain comes earned, and you, as much as we want happiness, we also don't want to let go of pain so easily, especially if the organization in front of us is the one that has dealt it. So yeah, I think I'm gonna say end of December. If they're in a position, man, where the bumps are kind of smoothed out and it's here and far between, I'm gonna enjoy talking about creative stuff this team can do to perhaps, pad the defense, hopefully, and create some cap space and screw picks for a little while. Who knows? But we'll see.
And you mentioned that January 1st thing. I like that. That should be when a team can look at things and say, okay, what are we? Are we actually for real? Because I do believe this Canucks team is good enough to say in Jan 1st, if to hang around in the division, still be top 3 in that division, because we've seen long enough. This division is chaos. This division has always been chaos. This division is never set in stone in terms of who's going to be the playoff teams. I mean, really, the only certain team in this division is Vegas.
Vegas is the only certain team right now, which is it's nuts, because we were all coming into this season from a Canucks perspective being like, okay, so we need one of Vegas, Edmonton, or Calgary to screw up, and lo and behold, it's like, oh, it's us. Like, not that we're screwing up, but it's like, oh, we're one of the top people. Like, we're one of the marquee highlights of this division. Okay, this is interesting. But yeah, mainly when we talk about January, it's that I think if you're Edmonton and you figure it out by December, it's like, okay, that's fine. It was a blip. We figured it out. With Vancouver, it's just like, it's so hard to know what they are for the last decade. And if they can just do this for a while and say, hey, we've figured out trigonometry a little. We didn't get it, but we figured it out now. It's used for things. They can go ahead and get the belief in the market back.
Awesome. Couple more questions here. Andy L asks, sauce it or toss it? Tossing out the first round pick for Tanev, Brandon, and or Chris.
Oh, okay. I believe this is Andy Lau, and Sauce It and Toss It is a segment on our show. Listen, I've talked about this. Like, there is no greater wrong to right that this team could do than going out and getting Chris Tanev and bringing him back. As people who might not know so much about previous Canucks history, Elias Pettersson, Quinn Hughes, that team that went to the bubble referred to Chris Tanev as dad. And when the Red Wedding happened, where Toffoli, Tanev, Markstrom, and Stetcher were all let go after that run, man, like, the big talk in Vancouver right now is like, we love Hughes, Hronek. Can we afford to split them up? No. But hey, if you go and you get dad back, and he's expiring at $4 million, he's 34, you can extend him for another 2 years and tell him, like, your position is just going to be Quinn Hughes's not caddy. Sorry, that's not respect enough on Chris Tanev. To be a kind of his sidekick, like, be his multi-first Batman to his Quinn Hughes's Batman. That'd be a great story, and that'd be something that I think the entire team would rally around, to bring warmth and, like, familiarity. I think that's the one great thing, Avery. I think when you're talking about the argument of, a team's on a heater, do we really make these changes and perhaps screw the chemistry? Familiarity is the one move you can make in situations like this that more than likely won't screw up the thing you've got going. And Chris Tanev, I mean, listen, I love Brandon. He's great, but there's too many forwards in this organization. But Chris Tanev, man, I will sing it. I will sing it. I will sing it if they can somehow figure out a way to bring Dad back. All for it.
Yeah, no, I've seen Canucks. Yeah, you mentioned familiarity. I've seen Canucks fan. He's one guy I've never seen a Canucks fan for the most part bash him. He is someone who I've seen a lot. He is very beloved. Let's see if we can find one more question here. I'm trying to see if we can find one more question here. Oh, here we go. One more here. Another one from Last Resort. Thoughts on Tyler Myers' bounce back after that bad game and how he's performed after the past few games. Tyler Myers, he's a hot button issue. Tyler Myers has been a hot button topic among Canucks fans for a while.
Yeah. So, full transparency, like my Botchford article was on Tyler Myers.
Yes.
It was about him and his brother Quentin, who now plays for the New York Knicks.
It's a great piece, by the way. It's a really cool article you wrote.
Thank you. I mean, it's one of the things I wrote. Like, I'm mainly more face to face and talking than a writer, but I had a lot of fun writing it. But it's just, man, like when we talk about Tyler Myers, I don't understand the hypocrisy, but like you refer to him as the chaos giraffe, and then you complain when he does chaotic things. That's what chaos is. You don't get to choose what it is. It's just, it doesn't have a reason. It doesn't have a method. It is what it is. And when Tyler Myers goes and does amazing things, sometimes, listen, I've said this a lot to fellow people who listen to our show. Technically, Tyler Myers shouldn't exist. And I say this because he is 6'8". He skates like the wind. He is, when you think of a hockey player, you don't think of Tyler Myers. Like, Tyler Myers should be a power forward. Like, it just, in the NBA, like he should be playing with his brother, but he's putting on ice skates. He's skating majestically. He's doing all these things. And so at the end of the day, is he paid way too much? I would argue yes. But do I also think that he's in a position where he's been played overtly and being put in positions where he's probably not being used to be at his most successful? Yeah. And at some point, like, listen, if someone offers you $6 million, if someone offered me $6 million to play hockey, I'd be like, listen, I'm going to suck, but I'm going to try my best. And if the best way to use someone like Tyler Myers at this stage of his career is like third pairing, and he has someone like Ian Cole beside him, let's say, and Tyler Myers is his best stuff is his skating ability and his first pass, and he can just focus on those things. We see kind of more low event hockey from Tyler Myers, and we're not screaming off of our heads. But to kind of wrap a bow on it, I also never understood, like the awareness, like that he is chaotic. Yeah, like that's what you get. That's what you get when you put a player like that in really high increasing positions. I wish him nothing but the best, man. He's so nice, and I think like even if this year didn't go good or didn't go well, and let's say he's traded at the deadline to a contender, he can play on an everyday roster. He just needs to have tempered expectations of how he can be used.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. With that, we'll wrap things up here on Game Over Vancouver. Arash, where can the people find you? We're going to find your work. We're going to find the podcast, good sir.
Oh man, okay, yeah. So I'm on a podcast called Pucks on Net. It's one of Vancouver's longest standing Vancouver-based hockey podcasts since I think 2013, with my co-hosts Ryan Shapp and Gita Reddy. You can find me at Arash Memarzadeh. I'm the guy with the Aladdin photo, and you can probably see that Avry and I follow each other. That'll help you out. You can find me on there, find me on the show, find me on places like Game Over and other places when I'm doing little guest host bits. But yeah, you'll find me on the internet, man. I'm there.
There you go. And I want to say, before I let you go, your Twitter profile picture last year of you superimposing the Johnny Canuck was that was very fun. I enjoyed that picture very much.
Yeah, I mean, someone made that for me, and I was like, you know what? Sure, why not? I'll be known for this for a year. And then I found the Aladdin photo. I'm like, okay, I feel like this is This is more reflective of how I feel.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, thank you all for tuning in, listening. And again, please subscribe to the SDPN YouTube channel. Listen to the podcast, share to all of the content, not just Vancouver, not just Edmonton. Listen to all of our hosts. We're one big happy group here that enjoys putting out these shows after games, talking about the Canadian franchises. And thank you to the Canuck fans for letting me come in here and invade for a night.
You did so good.
Thank you, Arash.
Avery, you did so good wading in enemy waters. You did fantastic.
I appreciate that, but technically, Canuck fans, you're not done with me just quite yet, because we're back here again on Monday night for a game over head-to-head, Edmonton, Vancouver. It'll be Kaya and myself recapping that game on Monday. But until then, we are out of here. Enjoy your night. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I'm Avery and Arash. We are out of here. Have a good night. Peace.
Game